Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 5, the final day of Virtual Island Summit. Thank you so much for joining this session. My name is Subhas Adhikari, and I am the Business Development Associate at Island Innovation. I am currently based in Nepal. Island Innovation is a sustainable development consultancy working primarily with islands around the world. Our service include event strategic communication and capacity building, and we are trusted by clients globally. If you'd like to learn more about our work, please check the contact information shared in the chat. I'm delighted to be presenting this session titled From Crisis to Opportunity, How Sri Lanka is Reimagining its Blue Tourism Experience. Before we begin, you should see a poll appear on your screen. Please let us know where you are connecting from and sector and industry you belong to. So I see people joining all around the poll. I would like to invite you to use the chat function to introduce yourself, share where you are joining from, and add any comment during the session. For questions to the panelists, please use the Q&A function. We will do our best to address as many as possible during Q&A portion of the session. So, all right. I can see people joining from different part of the world, from different industry, from Europe also, from Caribbean also, and from a different sector like academia, NGOs, and private sector. So thank you everyone for your participation. And with that, I would like to hand over to our moderator, Ale. Ale is the founder of Sea Going Green. Ale, please take over from here. Thank you.
Great. Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Subhash. Thank you everybody for joining us today. I'm just going to be sharing my screen. Perfect. If I can just get confirmation that you can all see my screen.
Yes.
Perfect. Great. Good morning. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much again for joining, and thank you to Island Innovation for hosting us today. So as Subhash mentioned, our session is From Crisis to Opportunity, How Sri Lanka is Reimagining its Blue Tourism Experience. And I'm Ali Dragazet from Sea Going Green, and I'll be moderating this session. I have a great panel with me today. We have Dr. Prasad, the Director of Tourism and Planning, Development and IRU from the Sri Lankan Tourism and Development Authority. I have Professor Turney, the Director General of the Department of Coastal Conservation and Coastal Resource Management of Sri Lanka. And I have Melinda, who is the Head of Sustainability at Attendees Spence Travels. So today, a little bit more about what you can expect. We'll be diving a little bit into the marine tourism roadmap that we did on behalf of ADB and the SLDTA and Ministry of Tourism for Sri Lanka. We'll be talking a little bit more about where Sri Lanka stands today from the SLDTA, some opportunities for sustainable development from the CCD, and the opportunities for sustainable development from the private sector from Attendees Spence Travels. So just a little bit about Sea Going Green. We are a sustainable tourism consultancy. Our big mission is really to alleviate the negative impacts of tourism on the marine environment. And we do this by working with both the private and public sector. So with the private sector, we're really directly working with river cruises, yachting companies, and coastal hotels, developing sustainability strategies, and with the public sector, really working on whole destination strategies. And ADB was one of those clients, which we developed the Marine Tourism Roadmap for Sri Lanka for over the last 2 years. So the Marine Tourism Roadmap really is going to be serving as a national blueprint to guide Sri Lanka's transition towards sustainable, high value, and coastal marine tourism. The key objectives were really to identify priority destinations and anchor products, align development with conservation, propose zonation, infrastructure, and implementation pathways, and really to enable local benefits through inclusive tourism. We focused on Kalpidia, Galle, Trinco, Mana, Jaffna, and the northeastern coastal belt. So what our roadmap found was that Sri Lanka's geographical location and coastal destination is really uniquely positioned for marine tourism development. It's growing quite fast, but it remains quite informal and unregulated for now. There is high potential for high value tourism, across all the coastal zones, and there's a strong demand for niche experiences. Some gaps that we identified were uneven development between the North and the South, the lack of common standards and infrastructure to support further development, and weak regulation and enforcement of illegal activities such as dynamite fishing, which really put marine tourism at a risk. So our recommendations are really per area. I'm not going to dive too deep into them now. The roadmap is completely public now, so you can also scan this QR code if you would like to see it and read it in full. It's also on the SLDTA website and on our website at Seagoing Green, and you can also contact us for more information. But we really wanted to make specific recommendations per destination, which included zonation and planning recommendations, infrastructure and product development recommendations, and governance and implementation, including a one-year plan. So now we've passed over that marine tourism roadmap back to the SLDTA and MOT, the Ministry of Tourism, for implementation, and we're looking forward to next steps. Of course, none of this was done without extensive stakeholder involvement. So we really feel like we have a lot of community buy-in for our roadmap, because we did a lot of field visits in all of these areas to get a lot of stakeholder feedback and input. And some of the stakeholders are actually on the panel with me today, and I will be passing over to them. So Dr. Prasad, I will invite you please to share your screen. Dr. Prasad? Dr. Prasad, are you able to join us? If not, we can also pass it over to Professor Turney first. Great.
You can see my screen?
Yes, perfect. Go ahead, Dr. Prasad.
All right. Thank you very much. And good morning and good afternoon to everybody who is joining from different parts of the globe. It's a privilege to be a part of this 2025 Virtual Island Summit for the very first time, representing Sri Lanka. We call it the Pearl of the Indian Ocean. So as a representative from the national tourism body, Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority, I will quickly take you through what is our view, what is the direction of the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority for the marine tourism. If you talk about marine tourism, Sri Lanka is an island blessed with a 1,300-kilometer coastal line with tropical waters and rich biodiversity. And if you look at our economic ocean zone, it's 7 times larger than our actual land area. And that itself talks about untapped potential in terms of ocean resources, not only for tourism, but also for research and conservation. So I will take you through the opportunities in marine tourism in terms of Sri Lanka. We have a lot of opportunities in terms of whale and dolphin watching, not only one part of the country, but it has 3 different areas in 3 different areas around the country. And if you talk about snorkeling and reef exploration opportunities, there are plenty for the people who are interested in such type of activities to come and experience. And then when you're talking about luxury yachting and coastal cruises, which is an area that has created a lot of interest in the global tourism market, Sri Lanka as an island has plenty to offer, although we are in the very initial stage in terms of yacht tourism. And then again, coming back to adventure activities using the ocean, whether it's windsurfing, kite surfing, sports fishing, or any other thing related to the ocean, we have ample of opportunities available. And also, not only that, we have opportunities to create so that man-made attractions can be created without harming the environment, because our whole objective is to utilize the ocean without disturbing the ecosystems. And one major and important area that I want to share with all the participants is the opportunities Sri Lanka has in terms of shipwreck diving. We are blessed with 167 shipwrecks around the country. Some of these are historical merchant vessels, World War II vessels, and even one or two flights, which creates high-end adventure diving opportunities, especially for the people who got the interest in that area. So it is actually a true potential for heritage-based tourism product. And then let's move on to the next slide. Yes, when you talk about marine tourism, Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority always believes community involvement is going to be a key part in the entire process of utilizing the marine resources to promote tourism. So coastal communities are key, and creating and absorbing their knowledge will definitely enrich the visitors' experience, because sometimes the local communities got a lot of stories related to the ocean around their area. So when we go along offering marine tourism experiences, we want to capitalize on their knowledge and utilize it in terms of tourism development. So, but to do that, we also need to ensure the capacity building is taking care. So we have already started training and awareness building for the local communities, so that they will not only relate their stories for the visitors, but also they will carry out those experiences in a responsible manner. An ultimate objective of the community involvement, as far as Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority is concerned, is to ensure that the tourism benefits are flowed through the households and families back into the country's economy, because we felt when we were developing the marine tourism roadmap that involvement of the communities are going to play a major role if we want to sustain this industry. Now, let's look at some of the key challenges that Sri Lanka will have as a marine tourism destination. Of course, one key area that we will have to address is the policy and institutional gaps, because as a country we have lack of cohesive national marine tourism policy and also weak interagency coordination, which definitely needs to be addressed. And to address that only, we have created the Marine Tourism Steering Committee, consisting of 16 agencies and 23 members. Then another area we will have to address is the environmental concerns, from coral reef degradation to coastal erosion, marine pollution, and even leading up to issues that are created by overfishing activities. Then, of course, we have to definitely address infrastructure deficiencies. A little while ago, I spoke about yacht tourism, but again, jetties, marinas, and all will have to be developed in the right places for the right purpose. Then only the industry as can take off. Then financial constraints will definitely needs to be addressed, because we have limited public funding. So obviously, we have to look for potential investors who can invest, banking on the marine tourism opportunities. Then again, we got to speak about regulatory and legal barriers, which are Sri Lanka is known for lengthy approval processes. But again, through the steering committee and also recently created presidential task force to support tourism, we hope to address these lengthy processes and procedures, so that possible and potential investors will have less headache in terms of approvals to carry forward their projects. Then skill and capacity gaps needs to be addressed, which we have already started working, of course, with the support of donor agencies, and using skills within our institutions to create that knowledge, build awareness, and through that lead the communities and other stakeholders to be more responsible more sustainable in whatever works they carry out. And again, the global risks, climate changes, and all these things needs to be addressed along with uh, community and stakeholder issues. So we have already started addressing all these through SLTDA taking the leading role, but of course with the support of all the agencies who are represented in the Marine Tourism Steering Committee. Then we can move on to the next slide. Yes, and then we talked about what is SLTDA's role in marine tourism. Our main role will be to ensure that we provide policy and strategic leadership, of course, in coordination with all the other agencies. And also when service providers, various organizations getting involved in marine tourism, it's important that we ensure regulations and standards are maintained and resources are preserved. And thirdly, provide investor facilitation, which we already are doing through the investor relations unit of the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority. But of course, we will strengthen it further to address the marine tourism and related investment opportunities. And then ensure proper stakeholder coordination is absolutely important. We have taken a bold step of getting all stakeholders involved in the process of developing the roadmap, which Ali explained. So our coordination and efforts to ensure proper collaboration becomes relatively easier because they all feel they are part and parcel of the roadmap that we have developed. Again, driving sustainability and compliance is important. And some of the initiatives that we have taken are after launching the marine tourism roadmap, we have now started developing particular action plans focusing on key sites and key destinations, and carrying out some of the medium and short term action points recommended through the roadmap. Also, we are working in infrastructure development at institutional level, also at national level, where we work with World Bank and ADB on certain funding support so that some of the key infrastructure will be addressed in a phase of 3 to 5 years. Then again, as I have already touched, capacity building of the local communities and the stakeholders. And through the Sri Lanka Tourism Promotions Bureau, which is our branding and marketing arm, we will be actively promoting and branding marine tourism related activities. And through the investor relations unit of SLTDA, we are looking at public private partnerships. One classic example is that the man made attraction, the underwater art gallery, which we are trying to add into the marine tourism map, focusing on the Galle region of Sri Lanka. And again, community integration is something that we want to do in a very serious manner, because we do believe community involvement is key, their expertise is important, their knowledge on the local area is vital, and more importantly, building capacity in them to be responsible partners of marine tourism development is also important. So we have taken initiatives and we are working with them. So, in conclusion, I think marine tourism is not a mere niche market, but it's a transformative opportunity for Sri Lanka's tourism map. It provides a unique global niche with Sri Lanka can proudly speak about 167 shipwrecks and its rich biodiversity. And community benefits are also important so that the tourism will not only contribute to the country's economy, but it will ensure the life standards of the people around the areas will be parallelly developed. So Sri Lanka's vision is to be leading responsible, sustainable, and premium destination and hub for marine tourism in the Indian Ocean. And I'm sure with the support of all stakeholders, Sri Lanka should be in a position to reach that target within a targeted 10 years' time, taking all the initiatives of the roadmap in stages, but focusing and driven by the Marine Tourism Steering Committee. So once again, thank you for the opportunity, and I've just tried to take you through a brief understanding on the role of SLTDA, what initiatives we have taken, and what are our challenges, along with the opportunities we have in Sri Lanka. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Prasad. And it's really great to see all of SLTDA's really commitment to sustainable tourism, and not only from the environmental perspective, but really making sure that community will be involved every step of the way. Just a quick question before we maybe move on to Professor Turney is you defined very well what regenerative tourism could look like for Sri Lanka. Why do you think this is such a critical moment and turning point for Sri Lanka to really go towards sustainable marine tourism?
I think sustainable tourism is important, but I think we need to look more at regenerative tourism, which is not only sustaining but also doing something for improving the ecosystems, to healing the ecosystem. So it is a very important, especially in terms of Sri Lanka's marine industry, because we are just starting the marine tourism, and when you're opening it up, it's very important that we address it so that the regenerative tourism can transform marine tourism from being a pressure on the ocean, but to a more solution for both people and planet, because we can address all climate crises and ocean stress. We can look at how world has changed after the post covid, because people have become more environmental conscious, more environmental friendly. And to add to that, UN had already declared the this decade as the decade for ocean science and sustainable development. So you don't get a better time than this to concentrate on sustainability as well as regenerative tourism. And this will help us to shift the tourist demand. So we want tourists not to be mere visitors experiencing the ocean, but actually we want them to be people who become guardians of the ocean. So if we can provide that experience, not only Sri Lanka as a country will put the efforts to make it regenerative, but also our visitors also will play a crucial role. And through all this, it will not only provide economic resilience, but also it will provide healthy oceans. So healthy oceans, which will always be good for everybody involved in the marine sector, whether it's fishermen, whether it's tourism, whether it's researchers. So I think in that context, sustainability and regenerative tourism is vital more than any other time for the entire world, and especially for Sri Lanka, because we are starting the industry right now. And if we start it in the right way, it will be very much easier for us to drive it forward.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Prasad. So I'm going to quickly pass it over to Professor Turney to share his slides.
You can see my slides, Ali.
Yes, perfect.
Shall I start?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Ali, and good morning and good afternoon to all of you joining from various parts of the world. I am Turney. I am representing Coast Conservation and Coastal Resources Management Department of Sri Lanka. So today I talk about the same topic, but from coastal and environment perspective, mainly focusing on environment. So this way we are at the very center of the Indian Ocean, so very much connected because of our location. The location is a prime factor when we think about Sri Lanka's the development in the future. So we are very much connected to all part of the Indian Ocean ring countries. At the same time, the blue, the purple ring is the Indian Ocean islands. We are very much linked and we are very much connected to this. So this connectivity matters a lot in Sri Lanka, especially tourism sector, maritime sector, and even environment, whatever sectors, even defense sector. We are very much concerned, especially in those sectors. This is Sri Lanka is connected through ocean, the shipping lines and one of the major shipping route just cross southern tip of Sri Lanka. Per day we are having about 350 ships pass up and down. At the same time, we have the same place we have a whale hotspot, overlapping shipping route and whale hotspot. This is how we are connected to Indian subcontinent, and you can see on your right side, larger Bay of Bengal and Sri Lanka and India, and we have about 22 kilometers line between these two countries. Then we have IMPL, International Maritime Boundary Line. then Arabian Sea on my left side and of your right side. And therefore, we have, if you look at this, the part, this is Sea of Sri Lanka, though, as Prasad mentioned, we have a huge sea compared to our land is about 7 to 8 times larger than our land mass. So therefore, from starting from the coast, sand dunes, large, nice sunny sand and nice beaches, and again coral reefs, seagrass beds, and again deep canyons are there, and shipwrecks, and everything is we are very much rich with all these marine resources. That's ideal for marine tourism, especially in southern part in Indian Ocean region. And on the other hand, we are very much centered. Our water quality is much better than other countries, especially not like countries in Bay of Bengal and countries in Arabian Sea. Our water is bit clear, and water transparency is good for diving and deeper tourism. And if you look at this, the same Sri Lanka in 3D perspective, if I focus on this city, the Trincomalee, you can see the canyons just start at the very, very, very mouth of this Trincomalee harbor. So this Trincomalee is the unique city where you can see this, the largest animal on land as a elephant. At the same time, the largest animal in the ocean as a blue whales. From single point, you can see both animals. There's a only place in the world, I think, as far as I understand, where you can see those two large majestic animals from one single place. That is Trincomalee city in Sri Lanka. So look at the tourism, growth for last couple of, decades time. So in this year we are shooting very fast, and we are getting a number of tourists, and it's always increasing. But if you look at this map, the tourism development map in general, so we are at with the time we are now in this level. We are exploring new destination, and we are involving in tourism, and we are developing stage. So then you can see very steep development, and they then go to consolidation and stagnation. So before going to that, we are at this level, it's very much critical to understand where we are and what our potential, and are we really catering this sector properly to have better tourism in the future. Because if you don't have proper plans, if you're not prepared, and if the government is not much concerned about the tourism, I think that will be the tourism will develop devastation. Otherwise, that's why we are mainly focusing on especially SLTD, and we are working hard to plan everything at this level, at the pre-development level, to put Sri Lanka's tourism in a better place. So we are at this level at the moment. So if I go into marine tourism, what we have, larger blue whales, the largest animal on planet. So you can see one of my friends, he's swimming with the blue whale. This picture is from Trincomalee. It's a huge animals. If you go to whale watching in Sri Lanka, you can not only focus one whale. For example, if you go to whale watching in North Sea, one or two whales species, especially one whale species. But in Sri Lanka, blues, brights, and pygmy blues, whatever blue, at least 10 species you can target if you go whale watching in Sri Lanka. And again, regarding dolphin, the same, more than 10 species of dolphin, you can see large herds of dolphins in one single go. Right, even killer whales are available in our waters, and they can even see they are hunting blue whale cubs in Sri Lankan waters, and even superpods of sperm whales also available in western part of Sri Lanka during some period of time. That's in Mana. And even these whale sharks, and especially Colombo, there we have a number of shipwrecks. So these shipwrecks are very much populated with these whale sharks, and they are very gigantic and very charismatic, and ideal for marine tourism in most part of the world, even in Sri Lanka, and in deep waters. And this larger fish schools and shipwrecks in our waters. As Prasad mentioned, we have more than 167 shipwrecks around the country, because we were on Silk Route, the historic Silk Route. We have a number of natural shipwrecks are there, and shipwreck diving is again developing, but we need some more planning in the future. This is one of the largest or deepest diveable aircraft carrier, the HMS Hermes in East Coast. You can even dive. It's at 54 meters depth. So These are the very hot, very well known shipwrecks in Sri Lanka, but globally these are very much unknown. That's why we need greater publicity to bring more tourists to these areas. And the free diving. So still this is a developing industry in Sri Lanka, but still almost very few places are doing that at very small level. These are the potential. I'm now showing the potential of new diving, new marine tourism activities. Free diving, and again sport fishing offshore. And we have lots of large tunas and even and marlins and large fish schools around Sri Lanka, because it's an island nation with lots of rivers running. So the fish diversity is very much high and ideal for this, uh, marine fishing tourism. And again, surfing. Zarugan Bay is a well-known place in Sri Lanka for surfing, and not only surfing, windsurfing, and again kite surfing is very much taking now. Especially the kite surfing is spreading very fast, but now there are some conflicts with the kite surfing and energy sector, because we are developing some wind farms, and there's conflict between wind farms and kite surfing, because wind farms are those larger windmills. They disturb this wind pattern, and we have some issues we are now tackling with. And again, sailing, and still Sri Lanka is. I showed you at the very beginning, we are very much connected and very much centered in the Indian Ocean. But in sailing perspective, we are very much isolated, because in globally there are a number of very high-end sailing competitions happen, but Sri Lanka is not focusing on that, and we are not receiving much sailing competitions, so much sailboat that cross Sri Lanka to connecting east to west and west to east. So it's another potential area we can develop in Sri Lanka, and then yachting. We even now produce some yachts. We manufacture some yachts, and yacht tourism is ideal, especially down south in Veligam and even Mirissa and even in Trincomalee. There's even Goal is a very, very good yachting destination in Sri Lanka, but still the company needs to develop this area to get the maximum potential from yachting. Right? These pictures are not from Sri Lanka, of course, but these are from other countries. But these are potential. I am showing the potential, not only yacht, but super yachts. But super yacht industry is still, almost nil for my understanding. But these are the, and bringing super yachts and even those luxury, those cruise ships to Sri Lanka. So we have some potential now with a new port city in Colombo, and in Colombo Harbour we are having now a new jetties emerging in Colombo Harbour. Colombo Harbour is expanding fast, so we can accommodate those larger, larger cruise ships. But still, we are not prepared, and we are not ready for, and we are not marketing this niche to this globally to bring them down to our country. That's one of the areas I think we have to develop. And even the aviation tourism, and again some deeper water. Other countries now focusing on deep water tourism. I mean, underwater restaurants and underwater cafeteria, whatever. But in Sri Lanka, still we have some conflicts with the environmentalists in that case. But we have lots of good potential site for that. And again, submarine or deep water tourism in Sri Lanka. So the place I showed you, especially the Trincomalee, is ideal place for the submarine tourism, and because now people go to space for tours. Space tourism is there. But in Sri Lanka, we have a very, very special, very great potential to submarine tourism, especially in Trincomalee, because Trincomalee is a very, very deep but very protected bay. Right? We can do lots of, and even lots of shipwrecks are there. It's an ideal place for submarine tourism, but still we don't have so much plans to implement or initiate these activities in our country. And
One
again,
minute,
then issues
Turney,
we are
please.
time.
1 minute, please.
I didn't. Yeah, of course, sure. No issues, issues. We have issues with, erosion is one of the issues we are facing steadily and daily, and then the pollution issues, and even tourists are supporting us. But we rank number 5 in was polluter index in 2015, but it's the wrong statistics anyway. But beaches are some beaches are polluted, but we are working hard to keep our beaches clean. I can show you some pictures here. And pollution, light pollution, and even sound pollution in the ocean is a issue, and uh, you know some bad behavior tourists. The spearfishing is banned in Sri Lanka, but spearfishing is happening very frequently in most of the places. And again, the fishing of this charismatic species, again some problems for us. And dynamiting is again some problem for us in most of some parts of the around the country. And again, diving with tourism with whales is still we don't have much enough regulations to regulate this industry, but it's a potential there. if you do this with some proper programs, I think we can get we can attract tourists to this to our country. And look at this, these are tourists, they trample corals in pigeon islands, but these are the things we have to manage, of course. And feeding animals, this is in Hikkadu. There are a number of turtles, tame turtles in Hikkadu. You can even feed them, you can take them to your hands, and actions needed, because we have to improve our standards. We have to have a close monitoring systems, and we have to do environment, we have to manage our environment properly, and we have to have some better law enforcement capacities, and better infrastructure developments are needed. We have to get the private sector, local people into the system, and again better marketing is again needed. Those are the things I am thinking at the moment. And because Sri Lanka is because I know that Sri Lanka is a country with 4 seasons. If within hours time you can go to highland areas with very low temperatures, 7-8 degrees at some point, and you can go to harsh areas and even go to mild temperatures. Therefore, it's a country is a heaven. So therefore, I think from Sri Lankan perspective, I know that if we market this, I think this Sri Lanka will be a number one again and keep this stands. I think for a long time. I think we should be prepared and we should have better planning. I think it's Prasad, and we are working hard for that. That's our wish to keep Sri Lanka a better place, the best place in the world on towards a map. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tony. Just one quick question before we pass it over to Melinda. It would be great just to hear a little bit from the CCD perspective of what the CCD is doing to really promote regenerative tourism. Of course, coastal erosion being a very big risk for any kind of coastal development in Sri Lanka that we saw during our site visits. So if you could just briefly touch upon that.
I didn't get see. So from yes, the erosion is one of the major problems in Sri Lanka. We are facing. We are spending huge amount of money. So the issue is that we extract sand. We stopped for until last time we keep on extracting sand. We stopped. So as I pointed came to this post, I stopped extracting sand from the beach. And again, the main solution for this erosion is revertments and gabion walls and sea walls. So I stopped immediately, establishing those gabion walls and sea walls and revertments. Instead, now we're proposing offshore breakwaters, and that also improve tourism, improve fisheries. At the same time, we can preserve our coastal waters. So those now and again we go to soft solutions like mangrove restoration, coral restoration. We are doing a number good coral restoration activities and even seagrass restoration. So we merge green into gray. So we merging and try to somehow answer these questions. And on the last point for the new developments, we are now proposing them to incorporate climate change impact in the new projects. They will from their perspective they will take some actions individually as project wise. Then the burden come to us will be lower and lower in the future. So those are the actions we are taking to combat climate change. And yes, I think we are in a more we put CCD into more greener way, from gray development to more greener. That's our latest concept, Ali.
Yeah, it's great to hear that nature-based solutions are really kind of at the forefront now of how to tackle climate change impacts for coastal erosion and development. Great, thank you so much, Tony. And I will pass it over to our final panelist of today, Melinda. I will ask you if you can please share your screen.
Can you see my slides?
Yes, they're just loading. Yes, perfect.
Okay, right. So, first of all, thank you for giving this opportunity. And I'm representing Aiken Smith Travels, the leading destination management company in Sri Lanka. And I would like to speak on the perspective of destination management company on the blue tourism. Before moving into that, I would like to briefly explain you about who we are and what our role in sustainability. So as I told you, Attendees Travels is the largest and the leading destination management company in Sri Lanka. And I'm happy to say that we are the only destination management company in Sri Lanka which has Travel Life certified. And this shows simply our commitment towards sustainability. We align our work with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and our environmental management system is governed by ISO 14001 standards. And if you look at our journey on sustainability, we work on all three pillars of the sustainability, that is people, profit, and planet. On environmental protection, we work on several projects. The main project is the Green Course, which is about the leopard conservation project, where we collaborate with uh, Department of Wildlife Conservation, state management, and communities on the human leopard conflict mitigation in the highlands of Sri Lanka. And also we do sponsor for foster parenting elephant calf in elephant transit home Udawalawa, where they rehabilitate and release the orphan wild elephant calves to the wild. And also we work on reducing of single-use plastic in our operation. We have introduced glass and metal water bottles for guests, as well as we have declared our office as single-use plastic-free zone. And to control the overvisitation and the overcrowding, we have our own mechanisms. We are introducing alternative locations, we are monitoring our traffics, and we suggest alternative places, and we suggest alternative mechanisms to avoid overcrowding. And on habitat harmony, we work on conserving and the uplifting of the natural ecosystems. And on people and profit, we work on different projects as well. She Views is our read back project, where women from a rural village who are generally housewives are now involved in weaving these reed bags, and we purchase them and offer them as a welcome bag for our guests. So these women are now become an important part of their microfinancing, as well as getting steady secondary income. Also, we help a lot of schools to develop their infrastructure, and also we do career guidance programs for school children to show their career paths in the tourism industry. Under Prosper, we do community development projects where we work closely with selected communities and guiding them to move out of the poverty. With that background, let's move into the blue tourism opportunities we see as a DMC. The main advantage we have, as Tony also mentioned, is our geographical location, the tropical island just above the equator. So as a result, we are year-round destination. And to bless with that, even though we have two monsoons, it's always one part of the country and one part of the ocean is ideal for the oceanic activities. So we can flip between coasts, the east coast and the west coast. And our signature experiences, such as whale watching, we do have so many diverse whale profile we look at, from blue whales to sperm whales to pin whales to pilot whales to once in a while killer whales. The dolphins, and at multiple locations as well, the reef drivings and the shipwreck drivings, which again mentioned by both Prasad and Tony, where we do have so many shipwrecks dated back to 1,000 years to very recent. And surfing, kayaking, water sports, snorkeling, and the surfing, kite surfing, windsurfing, as well as the cruise operations. These are signature experience which we can offer to our guests. And also the yachts, which is emerging in the time to come. And the community-based products which we have, We do have guides and instructors from the local communities, and also the ecosystem restoration projects carried out by the communities, and the local cultures associated with the marine tourism, as well as the activity centers developed and operated by the communities are great opportunities for us as a DMC. And the gaps and the risk we see. As operator, we see a compliance gaps, where lack of legislations, monitoring and evaluation mechanisms, and the product vulnerability. Of course, both Tony and Pradeep mentioned this, and they mentioned what the steps they are taking to mitigate these issues. But at the moment, this has become an issue because of the lack of legislations. There are so many people who are doing unethical and unproductive blue tourism. And also the inconsistent protect area management and the policies. Though we have the protected areas, the implementation of management is very weak, mainly due to lack of resources and the lack of personnel. So we need to strengthen these areas. Without that, we are looking forward for a trouble with the degradation of ecosystems. And of course, the climate change. It has become a challenge all over the globe, and we are not exempted. With the climate change, though we mentioned about that two perfect flip zones, it has been changed now. A sudden and unpredictable change in the weather patterns make it difficult to make it a year-round or consistent destination. However, with time to come, I believe with the help of the government, legislatures, community, and of course the guests, we'll be able to bridge these gaps and make Sri Lanka a global marine tourism hub. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Melinda. I think we have a couple minutes now left for our Q&A, but Melinda, I would first like to ask you from the private sector and really community engagement perspective, what are some of the biggest hurdles and opportunities that you're really seeing on the ground for sustainable tourism development?
Okay, the hurdles, the main hurdle is the short-term profit pressure, because we are just recovering from very bad experience of COVID, where the tourism was basically down to ground. So therefore, people have been suffered for a few years, and now when the tourism is regenerating and the booming, everybody is hurried to grab a kickback. So as a result, instead of thinking of balancing or the sustaining the business, everybody is like to do as much as possible to get their share. That is one hurdle we see. And also the fragmented stakeholder engagement, where different institutions, entities, communities, and operators are not in the same line or they're not in the same tone. And also the awareness and skill gaps, again a big hurdle, because sometimes people don't understand the importance of conserving these ecosystems or the repercussions of their actions on these ecosystems due to the lack of awareness. And also the policy and regulation weaknesses, of course, which we are addressing together with the government and the SLTDA. As opportunities, the best opportunity we have is to differentiation and the branding. While world is going for the luxury ocean holidays, we can rebrand ourselves as experience-based, sustainable blue tourism destination. And also the community co-ownership models we can go for, working very close with the community and the local suppliers. And also the innovation and investment. This is kind of a blessing as well as a kind of a hurdle, because with the technology and the equipment, we are lagging behind at the moment. But the good thing is, as a result, we can directly invest on the latest technology and more sustainable equipment and the models. So those are the main hurdles and opportunities I see in the blue tourism as a industry perspective.
Thank you, Melinda. And Turney, I'd like to also invite you if you can start your video again and join us. I have a couple questions for all the panelists. So my first one is really, if you had to name one non-negotiable principle for marine tourism in Sri Lanka moving forward, what would it be? So for me personally, being so lucky to spend so much time in Sri Lanka, a big one I would like to see is really banning and enforcing the ban adequately of illegal activities such as dynamite fishing, is really my non-negotiable. But I'd love to hear from you as well. Dr. Prasad, perhaps?
You want me? Yeah. I think if you ask me what is one non-negotiable principle for tourism, of course, yes, I was thinking about dynamite fishing as well. But on top of that, I think we need to look at sustainability with very strict ecosystem protection mechanisms, plus some level of concentration on the regenerative tourism. Because without safeguarding coral reefs or the coastal habitats, fisheries, and marine biodiversity, I don't think we can talk or think about marine tourism industry, because any short-term tourism gains will only result in the collapsing of the industry. So we need to be more long-term focused, especially as I said earlier. This is an area we are opening up, which is not opened up yet for many tourists. But when we are opening it up, we should do it in a responsible way, and we are in a unique opportunity to do it in the right way. Because, in very simple terms, if there is no ecosystem health, then there is no future for marine tourism. So, in that context, I think sustainability, protective ecosystems, plus regenerative tourism is an area where I would not negotiate in any plans or promotions.
Yeah, I'm also going in the same line. My theme is protect before promote. Because if you don't have the proper legislations, proper framework in place, we should not start promoting. Because we can't expect to start promote first and then to control or the monitor or evaluate. So we should have the proper framework and the legislations, and then only we should start promoting, because the healthier ecosystems and the healthier marine ecosystems is the bloodline of the marine tourism. So if we destroy it, there's no future for the marine tourism.
From my side, if I add something different, I also agree with these two speakers, Prasad and Kaushal, and what my non-negotiable area is unplanned and unauthorized construction or development on coastal areas. So, in Sri Lanka, so on the beach, we can see a number of installments coming, and at present, I am demolishing all, right? Because as per our law, the beach is a private property. So we have to keep it as a private property, and we have to treat it as a private property. So I'm demolishing everything on the beach first. Now we have around the country, we have a reservation about 10 meters in down south and western coast, but in eastern coast is 25 meters. A reservation, there's a climate change reservation, is a setback lines. So even on setback lines, there are a number of maybe more than, I have records about 1,600 permanent establishments, even 2, 3 story hotels are there, right? The issue is that that has not been monitored within last 3 decades time. Now we are monitoring it now. What I'm going to do is I'm not demolishing them, but I will stop building anything here onwards. But for the rest, I will impose some fine system or maybe some levy system for them to pay and keep their properties, just to this to put this unplanned system into some sort of regulatory system. I'm trying hard for doing that. So that I will not negotiate at all. But at even from now onwards, I am trying my best to keep those existing laws to the maximum level possible and implement them in the proper way possible to make tourism a better, provide a better environment to tourism for tourism, and again keep the balance between development, environment, and even social, that's leading sustainability. So I do my best to keep this balance three. I am not stopping. I am facilitating tourism for my best, but still I am trying to keep environment and social life also in the same balance.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you so much for sharing those. We have to make sure that those non-negotiables are now in the implementation plan. Absolutely. So next question is really, what does success look like in 10 years? How will we know that Sri Lanka has achieved a regenerative marine tourism model, let's say? What is our ideal scenario? I know, Dr. Prasad, you spoke about hopefully in 10 years that we can reach some sort of success in this area. What does that look like to you?
So, in very simple terms, if our oceans are healthier than today, that will be the key success factor for me in terms of what we are trying to do. Sustainable tourism, regenerative tourism will ensure healthier oceans. Local people should be better off, and the visitors should value the experience they get in Sri Lanka. They look at Sri Lanka as a country with healthy ecosystems for coral reefs, mangroves, beaches, and whatever resources, ocean resources we have, then you need to have a community that are reaping the benefits of industry and still act in a responsible manner. Then visitors who also respect the country, that is created through policy and governance which are practiced very seriously by the people, the visitors, and the government without any interference. And all these leading into a visitor experience where our visitors will not feel they are mere visitors, but of course guardians of the ocean, and they will willingly support any efforts taken by Sri Lanka tourism or the government in that context. So all in all, should lead Sri Lanka to be recognized as a global example for marine tourism. I think if we put all our efforts correctly, we should be able to get closer to that within 10 years. That's my wish, and that's our expectation.
From my side, in 10 years' time, I would like to see, to develop a country where we can provide very Sri Lankan tourism with our cuisines, with our culture, and with our smile to the people, and that attract more tourists to the country, but at the same time establishing better balance between those social life and tourist life, and again the tour and the environment in more pristine, the better the maximum pristine way possible. I think for that we are working at the moment, and I hope in the future, if we can go to that level, then even we come to the stagnation level in the tourism development chart, I think we can provide a better tourism to the world, and our people also will enjoy, and our people will start welcoming tourists more, and we will be able to keep our environment in a good shape with less pollution, and again put again Sri Lanka in the tourism map to the best island in the world, to give the better our Sri Lankan tourism in Sri Lankan way. That's my wish in 10 years time, to do the sustainable tourism from Sri Lankan perspective.
As a destination management company, in 10 years' time, I would like to see the thriving marine ecosystems where coral reefs have been regenerated, the whales and dolphin populations have been increased, and the mangroves have been grown again. So, as a destination management company, we are also working on these lines as well, doing the ethical whale watching practices, assisting in the coral and the mangrove replantation projects as well. And also, I would like to see that the local communities are also benefiting from these tourism activities, because they are the key stakeholders of all these projects. Without their well-being, we will not going to make the marine tourism success story. So we would like to see more and more involvement from the local communities, from their cultural aspects, from their expertise, from their storytelling, in any possible way to get them involved and make them part of this initiative. And also, we would like to see a responsible visitor experience where the visitors also respect these nature and the ecosystems and the local cultures while enjoying the uh, e- marine tourism. So that is my vision in 10 years to come.
Yeah, it sounds like we all have a very similar vision of a sustainable tourism industry for Sri Lanka, built by Sri Lanka, but also for Sri Lanka, very much for the local community, for the local environment. And we really hope it goes that way. We got permission to have a couple extra minutes. I know we're running a little bit late, but I did want to answer at least one Q&A from our audience. So I have one here from Tony asking, while achieving balance between environment, economic, and social outcomes, sometimes there must be trade-offs. I wonder what has been a most difficult trade-off that the speakers have found so far. So maybe turning from the CCD perspective, I can imagine there's a lot of trade-off in terms of development and SLTDA, obviously for tourism development. So what are some of these difficult trade-offs that you've had experience in?
Yeah, in my case, social is my main issue because convincing people and put them into real practice the most difficult part I am handling. Environment say that environment we can whatever. Nobody will come against environment protection, but when it goes to make a balance between environment and development, then the most difficult custodian is the social, the general public. So if we can aware them, if we can sensitize them, if we can tell them that we are doing this for them, not for us, at the end, because they are benefiting the social, we will have a better social life. That will be ideal. Otherwise, if we can put, I think from my side, better rules and regulations, because in coastal and marine environment, although we have rules and regulations, we have not implemented them in proper way. So if we can do that, I think we'll be able to reach to some level. But still, most difficult trade-off is to tackle the social or general public. If we can tackle them, I think environment and economic development, we can, of course, we can manage in a fair and decent way. But that's the most difficult trade-offs I have to tackle from my perspective, CCD perspective.
Prasad, Melinda, is there anything you'd like to add?
When it comes to me, I think we're talking about tourism. So we deal with investors, we talk about tourism development, potential investors. So the biggest challenge or the trade-off that we need to balance is between the communities. When I say communities, mostly it's the fishing communities and the conservation. Because these three parties, I mean, conservation, of course, is the national responsibility. But again, when it comes to the fishing communities and the tourism investors, they they look at certain areas from their point of view, but we need to make the right balance and sometimes take the decisions or the so-called trade-offs in the best interest of the country, not looking at anybody else. So I think it's tough, but having said that, let's say if we want to give up something from the investor's point of view, we need to do it in such a way that the investor is clearly explained and won't get demotivated of coming and investing back in the country. But at the same time, community, as Professor already said, it's important that their awareness is built. So I think parallelly, what we have already started as a very first measure of the marine tourism roadmap implementation is trying to create awareness. We have already started working with the support of ADB and UNDP in working with the communities, because we do believe developing the knowledge level and the capacity and awareness of the local communities, especially the fishing communities, will play a major role in understanding and also not misunderstanding some of the tourism development concepts. Because I think the very clear direction of SLTDs, we will not support any development projects that will have a negative impact on the ecosystems or the conservation of the marine tourism resources. So that's we stand for that. And then the community needs to believe, if we are supporting some project, again with the support of CCD, because we are talking about the coastal areas in most of the developments related to marine tourism. If both our organizations are supporting, they needs to trust us. I think through awareness building, that is exactly what we are trying to do. Because if we don't whatever projects we take to the ground level are the projects only that we believe it's respecting the sustainability and other responsible efforts that we are taking. So I think first and the most critical step is creating the awareness and knowledge on the people to trust us. And I think if we do that, most of the trade-offs that we have to do right now will minimize and help us to move forward in the years to come. Thank you.
I also do agree with Dr. Prasad. I think it is mainly about the making people as well as guests aware and educate, because as in one of the previous slides, Tony shows how guests are feeding the turtles. So it is a balance between the desire and what is the correct thing to do. So as a destination management company, we always try to do the correct thing, not to allow all the desires of clients to take place or to take over our ethics or our principles. So we always try to do ethical business, and in that, the one of the major challenges is the awareness and the education and the desire of the guests as well as the communities, because guests wanted to have some sort of extreme experiences sometimes, which can be harmful for the environment as well as for the communities. And uh, communities also wanted to involve in various things which are really not sustainable. So finding the balance is the most challenging thing for us. Yes.
Absolutely. And bringing along the consumers and the travelers along this journey as well. It's not just from the industry perspective, but we really need to also use visitors as well as an accelerator for change. Turney, I think you had a question, just a final wrap up.
Yeah, I have one single comment for what Dr. Prasad mentioned about, the trade-offs. Because in Sri Lanka, from CCD side, we have set aside some sensitive areas as untouched areas, right? So now what I did was I talked to some investors and did some trade-offs. So to promote high-end tourism in these areas, then I spoke to local people, right? And promote high and low scale tourism, and with room rates go to 1,000 and more than 1,005 rupees dollars per night. So now I already approved to such projects. That's how, because the environment is there to use that in a more sustainable way environment. So keeping a sand dune just by the sand dune, or lagoon just by the sea is sensitive. Sensitive is not the to keep it untouched. So now we are doing those because I am a marine scientist, and I'm a coral ecologist. So with my understanding, with my knowledge, I'm balancing these two, and therefore I stop in these areas, the large small scale tourism. Instead I promote high end small tourists at this, then from doing that I can even support communities, and we can take them on board, and they even I was able to convince them that they are the large at the end beneficiaries. So that's how now we are doing in going more positive way, promoting more high-end tourism than giving small tourists. Sri Lanka, the small large scale tourism in small scale. So that's how we are. I am doing from my perspective to trade off this community and environment, and again development, to provide a better tourism essence from Sri Lanka.
Absolutely. It's not just about having protected areas for the sake of protected areas, but also multi-use areas where you can really promote regenerative tourism in a controlled manner. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much to the panelists, Dr. Prasad, Turney, and Melinda, for your really insightful presentations. And I really hope that the audience enjoyed it as well. And again, thanks to the Island Innovation team for hosting us today. And I'm going to pass it over to Subhash. And thank you for the extra minutes. I know we went over, but as you can tell, we can talk about Sri Lanka for hours. So thank you so much.
Thank you, LA, and all the wonderful speakers. It was really insightful session and a great discussion. Wonderful to know about Sri Lanka's work on tourism and shift to regenerative tourism model, and of course, the contribution of different organizations. For all of you who might have missed it, we announced very exciting news during our opening session. Island Innovation is partnering with Cabildo of Gran Canaria to host Global Sustainable Island Summit 2026. After this year's experience in St. Kitts and Nevis, now the Micronesian region and Europe take the spotlight. The summit will be held from 20 to 23rd of April 2026, and we will be discussing solutions and advancements in sustainability. Please note that all attendees of Virtual Island Summit can get an additional discount on early bird ticket using a special coupon. It is shared in the chat. So our next session will be Island Proofing EU policies of framework for territorial cohesion. It is coming up in 1 hour. So see you everyone there. And thank you everyone for